The Tectone situation is appalling. Tectone has been 100% unfairly slandered and attacked in ways that, I mean, are the exact same tactics that happened during the height of the Me Too movement. I don't really care if you do or don't agree with or like Tectone. That's irrelevant. Because even if you dislike him, dislike his content, dislike his coverage, dislike his opinions, it is still objectively true that he was not given in any way, shape, or form a fair assessment of the situation.
And people think, well, really? I don't have to have pictures or bruises? I mean, while those things would be great and helpful, it's not a requirement because judges every day make decisions based on the credibility of witnesses.
That's why it's called the legal system and not the justice system, guys.
And then make the call.
The better liars will be rewarded. That's the idea. If you are really good, like you excel.
She also cites Tectone talking about illegal aliens as a threat towards her, saying, well, I'm half Mexican, so I'm almost a minority, and that means...
Oh, shut up. I'm almost a minority. What the heck?
I mean, yeah, I'm 1/16 Cherokee. I'm almost a minority. To be fair, I'm a non-binary Native American. I guess I'm a minority. That's, remember, YouTube, I can say the things I'm saying because I'm a non-binary Native American.
Okay, guys, I think I figured it out. So basically, the too long didn't read is that Tectone got hit by a feminist, progressive, left-wing DEI judge who hates him and sided with her. All right, Tectone is innocent. I wanted to go and watch the video. Since it's a very long video, I don't want to watch the whole thing and take the entirety of the view. He put a lot of work into it. So this is Think Before You Sleep, friend of the channel. And apparently he made a video on Tectone and he put not guilty. So of course, if you don't know, there was a whole situation that involves, I believe, Tectone, who is another streamer, friend of Asmongold, friend of Emiru. In theory, he knew Mizkif. They hate each other. I believe he has a massive beef online with Hassan Piker. So, of course, enemy of my enemy, you know what I mean? There was a whole situation that he was having a civil lawsuit with his ex. I don't even know if it's ex-girlfriend or ex-wife, because everywhere you see, they say something different. And clearly, the split second that this happened, all of his enemies, including Mizkif, immediately jumped onto it and started accusing him of stuff. And Tectone has been accused of crimes before.
You know, Molly makes an excellent point. She's known illegals. Does that make her illegal by association? Sure, I'll agree with that. Molly is now illegal. Everybody send ICE to Molly's door.
That he hasn't committed, but that his father committed during the war. But for some reasons, people connected that crime to him, which I think is unfair.
It's absolutely unfair. Sins of the father. Like, and Tectone has openly talked about this. Now, people can make the argument that he's being too charitable towards his father. You know, my father didn't commit rape; he committed sexual assault. Like, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. Sex crime is a sex crime. Obviously, there's levels of severity to it, but that's neither here nor there. Sins of the father is some absolute bullshit.
Not your fault if your father is a... But anyways, I am interested to see what he says, because one thing about Think Before You Sleep is that his videos are highly researched and he puts a lot of work into them. So, without further ado, let's see what he has to say.
Tectone went to court today and he lost the court case against Pink Chu. Tectone, with his 5 lawyers, lost. She had 1. And she won. That's how bad it was. For the next 10 years...
That does not mean, by the way, that's how bad it was. There's a myriad of things that can sway a court case, regardless of quality or number of the lawyers.
Tectone can't own guns and has to pay all of her attorney fees, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thanks, Mizkif. We can always trust you to report things accurately. In case you haven't heard, Twitch streamer Tectone and an ex-girlfriend of his who goes by Pink Chu had been in a legal battle after Pink Chu publicly accused Tectone of sexually assaulting her. Recently, Pink Chu filed for a protective order, which is to prevent stalking and harassment, and Tectone lost a motion to get it dismissed. Now, before we get into all this, let me just say that I'm not even remotely neutral on whose side I'm on. I started out neutral. I started out with the mindset...
And I will say out the gate, I'm not either. I'm 100% on Tectone's side. Not even because I'm a fan of Tectone or whatnot. Like, don't get me wrong. I like his content every now and again. I haven't consumed a whole lot of it. Done a couple reactions is what it is. However, I'm very blatantly and unneutrally on Tectone's side because of the evidence of what this judge is. This is the bane of the legal system. Are judges that exist like this, that don't even put up a facade of impartiality. And as somebody who has gone through a court case in a similar vein to this, I am absolutely not going to be biased. Or unbiased, I mean.
Take a look at the facts of the case. Maybe there's some nuance here. Maybe both parties did something bad at certain points.
Yeah.
Usually that's how relationships in particular work.
Of course.
But my mind changed when I began researching, and I think after you guys watching see the details, you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, which is that this is a massive failure of the justice system, which is why this video is a defense of Tectone. It's about how, in my opinion, none of the assault allegations were true, and it's about how this whole situation was a coordinated effort from multiple streamers to ruin his career.
What has streaming become? They sue each other every 3 days. Goodness gracious.
That being said, Tectone, or John, is a popular Twitch streamer who started out by playing gacha games.
I played Genshin Impact, so you don't have to. So it's Breath of the Wild, but worse, but with waifus. Also, be careful of shit-talking Paimon's English voice acting.
More recently, Tectone is known for calling out how entitled the least talented video game voice actors are, and for how
Bro, we covered that pink-haired broad and completely fucking eviscerated her. And that was early on in the channel's history, if I recall. And that video still fucking killed it, bro.
helping expose Hassan Piker as an animal abuser.
Yeah.
And this is Pink Chew.
Hey, officer, you ever realize how hard it is to say rough 2 times in a row?
Rough?
Good boy.
Well, that was correct.
So this is the broad accusing him of sexual assault, right? You know, it's women like this that completely... All right, this is gonna sound really harsh, and I don't care. When we were covering that stuff going on in the UK earlier, and the brutal assault of that 12-year-old English girl by the Pakistani men, it is women like this that make stories like hers seem not credible. Evil shit.
Cringe.
So guys, you know how TikTok was recently bought by an American company? Since it shouldn't be a CCP spy app anymore, then I decided to make a new fresh account, just created it, and it's exploding. Look at this, 250,000 views. Now you might be asking, why are you making an account on TikTok? Because I think I can make a positive difference when it comes to the millions of youths that will be using it here in the US. So I decided, why not trying to do something educational instead of brain rot? So if you want to support me and you already have the app, please consider checking out the link in the description below to come and follow me on my Metatron history TikTok. Old school content, armor and weapons only, romance, samurai, medieval knights. Come on, I post twice a day. Go for it, go now, and leave me a comment.
Anyway, Pink Chew, who also goes by her middle name Ashley, is an OnlyFans creator who's achieved success after getting a very noticeable...
And that was your biggest mistake, homie. That was your biggest mistake. Dudes in the chat. If you're watching me, you probably wouldn't do this anyway, but just in case. Never, ever shack up with an OnlyFans hoe. It will only bring you problems.
I love the pause between OnlyFans and creator. Love the pause. Man, OnlyFans is ruining an
Fantastically, amazingly brilliant with a 99-cent super sticker. Shout out, and it's the angry face as it should be. Thank you, girly.
entire generation of girls. I'm just gonna say it.
Amount of plastic surgery, followed by a generous use of photo editing tools. I mean, this is an insane amount of catfishing. I'm not even looking at the same person when I compare a live stream to a photo of her. Which brings us to November 20th, 2024, where Pink Chew goes on an alternate account to make a post accusing someone of forcing her into oral sex. And everyone immediately assumed that she was talking about Tectone.
If you can believe it, Tectone actually is a piece of shit. His
Well, we have seen what, you know who this is? But I'm just gonna say, we have seen what makes her cheer, so her boos mean nothing.
And here's the thing. It is all, like, every single individual on the Hassan Piker Dick Rider side of the aisle condemned Tectone regardless of evidence. And you can make the argument, well, Leon, you're agreeing with Tectone. Everybody on your side is agreeing with him and defending him. Not true. I've seen many a right-wing creator disavow Tectone distance themselves from Tectone, claim that the ruling was correct. It's actually quite ideologically divisive on the right side as to whether Tectone is guilty or not. So, again, this is the objectively correct side of the aisle not being in an echo chamber.
This is the entourage of Hassan Piker. Of course, they're not creators, OnlyFans. Goodness gracious. I'll tell you more about what I think of OnlyFans in a little bit, but let's go.
Girlfriend, Pinky Chew, she's come out to speak about his sexual assault against her. How do you know that she's referring to Tectone? Because it's on LSF and they're not following each other anymore.
She's referring to this live stream fails post from an anonymous account announcing that Pink Chew was referring to Tectone. I mean, there were also obvious context clues like saying they live together, and who posts something to a public forum if they believe that the audience isn't going to know who they're talking about? So let's be clear, everybody on the internet knew this was Tectone despite her not saying his name in the post. So obviously Tectone had to respond, and he did so at first by not specifically naming who he was talking about.
So if you're confused, you're going to stay confused.
And this shit's dumb as fuck, man. This shit dumb as fuck. If you're gonna call a motherfucker out, call a motherfucker out. Drop some names, bitch. Drop some names. Y'all think I make veiled posts about John Della Backhole? Nah, I say his name like that. John Della fucking Backhole. John F. Homo-ass Trent. Yeah. Ain't no reason not to use motherfuckers' names, or at least insulting versions of their names. Be a man and actually call some shit out. Drop some names. I'll respect you more for that.
Confused. Because this shit is not about content for me. Okay? I know the person who needs to hear this is going to hear this. And I mean this genuinely. I did everything for you. I helped you with everything. I fixed everything for you. I was there for you like nobody else was there for you in your whole life. Your words, not mine.
Now, he does sound pretty mad here, which is why people such as Denims interpreted this as a definite confirmation that he was an abuser.
Your words, not mine.
Oh my God.
Right. He sounds mad, so he's an abuser. What, so somebody can't be mad if they're accused of abuse that didn't happen? Sure. Makes a lot of sense.
Even talks like an abuser. Holy shit.
You know what? He should sue her. Let's go.
Very glad Tectone is such a dumbass that he doesn't realize how bad this makes him look.
Oh yeah, the problem is that he has an inflated ego and he's stupid.
Because she's smart instead.
I was about to say, bro, Pot is calling the kettle all sorts of black.
Oh my gosh, the lack of self-awareness. She's the one who's getting sued by Ethan Klein because of how idiotic she was about literally letting his entire videos play on the split second of release and doing this. Never mind reacting, while saying, let's get the view from him so he doesn't make money. And then she gets sued into oblivion, but she's smart. She's the smart one without the ego, am I right?
It's like a horrible combination to have.
Well, that was the projection of the century.
Thank
and
you.
though maybe that video out of context was a bad look for Tectone, trust me, as we go over the court transcript, not Mizkiv's transcript that his idiot friend wrote, I mean the actual court transcripts. So when we go over the real transcript, you're going to understand why Tectone was a little angry there. In fact, I think he was quite polite. That transcript is infuriating knowing that it was used to take someone's First and Second Amendment rights away for 10 years. Anyway, on November 22nd,
How are they taking his First Amendment rights? I understand Second Amendment.
In terms of taking his First Amendment rights, the way I understand it is that he now has to, his speech is effectively curtailed, based on certain events regarding this case that could be grounds for like an additional lawsuit or additional punishment or something like that. I've also been informed, and I don't know if this is accurate, so maybe somebody in the chat, if the chat would fucking work, can let me know. This isn't set in stone, and they're doing an appeal process.
Amendment rights if he's not allowed to own a firearm. First Amendment rights, meaning that he can't speak about it. Well, probably that's what it is that he's talking about.
24, 2 days after Pink Chew makes her allegations, Tectone confirms on Twitter that Pink Chew was talking about him. He says that she has 2 weeks to apologize and admit that her allegations were false, or he will sue her for what I imagine was defamation, citing that he will also pursue legal action against those who knowingly repeat her lies with reckless disregard for the truth. Tectone goes on to say that he's willing to work with law enforcement and is ready to prove his innocence.
Okay.
And then Keemstar comments with some words of wisdom at the end, which brings us to
And by the way,
to prove his innocence.
Okay.
And then Keemstar
I don't like giving Keem a whole lot of credit, but when motherfucker right, motherfucker's right. I have no idea why you streamers date these OnlyFans clout demons. You guys always get wrecked in the end one way or another. Fucking facts.
Comments with some words of wisdom at the end. Which brings us to Travis County in Texas on January 20.
Fantastically, amazingly brilliant with a 2-banger super sticker just says, game over. Shout out. Thank you.
23rd.
Well, the word of wisdom was don't date an OnlyFans, I guess.
With some words of wisdom at the end. Which brings us to Travis County in Texas on January 23rd of 2026, and a hearing for a protective order filed by Linda Ashley Lamar, that's Pink Chew, against John Robertson, that's Tectone.
Tectone with his 5 lawyers.
Tectone and his 1 lawyer, that's 1
Where did Mizgiv get that he had 5 fucking lawyers?
lawyer.
I swear, it doesn't matter. You watch Hassan Piker, you watch Destiny, you watch Mizkif, and you have to sift through mountains of bullshit. It's like there is the occasional true statement, but it must be so frustrating. Well, not really, but actually I was about to say, if you are a member of his audience, not because they believe everything they say. It must be actually, in fact, quite easy. But the reality is that 9 times out of 10, you're being lied to. It's a lie. It's like when Hassan was like, I made a video about it, when Hassan was saying, oh yeah, no, I grew up affluent because my family, and then you have the pictures of him
Dude. I've loved Metatron's content for ages now, right? Back his old his history content, his armor stuff, like seeing him make this switch. And to be fair, we reacted to his video about living in the 80s a couple days ago, and that video was also awesome. But to see him make this hard shift to just fighting in the culture war, just so fucking based, dude.
Doing horseback riding in his entire, clearly lots of money, like Turkish company corporate money, right? Because he had to make a point on a live stream about, no, I understand what it means to people because I grew up affluent, rich, lots of money everywhere, yacht and this and that. Okay. Then a few months pass. There is a different live stream. I have all of this recorded and clipped. I've already showed it on a video. And then Hassan goes, well, I grew up in poverty, so I do understand people and, proletariat and all that and class struggle. Hold on a minute. Did you forget that you literally made a stream a few months before saying you grew up affluent? Or is it literally at this point, I'll say whatever I want, it doesn't matter because my audience doesn't check?
It's that one, Metatron. It's that one. It does not matter what he says. His audience will eat it all up like the good little Turkish bootlickers they are. He could outright say the Armenian genocide never happened, and they would be like, yeah, no, correct. Obviously, the Armenian genocide, that's a conservative lie made up by Donald Trump. Absolutely. It is unequivocally that second option.
Heck. And now this. Goodness gracious, it's exhausting.
Yes, Kiff. I don't know why you would lie about something that was so easy to disprove.
I'm smart. I'm not.
Uh-huh. All right, not even going to comment. Let's move on.
Going live and saying things that are stupid. I'm not going live and being not strategic with my words and my actions. I'm being smart.
Yeah,
right.
very.
Misgift sent a friend of his to go to court and take notes on the day of the hearing. Seems like the information wasn't very accurate. So Tectone's 1 lawyer is Joffrey Purrier, a guy with an enviable jawline, and Pink Chew's lawyer is Michelle Locke, an aspiring self-help influencer.
Life is a journey. Life has ups and downs.
Very insightful words of wisdom.
Thank you.
Last, the case is being heard by Judge Dimple Malhotra.
Already, just with this visage of the judge, I will be making some judgments. There is so much wrong here. So much wrong here. I'll let you guys come to conclusions as to what is wrong.
Just for clarification, this is a civil case. Conveniently, a lot of these types of allegations seem to be tried in civil courts.
That's another thing, by the way. This is a civil case, not a criminal case, yet everybody on a particular side of the left, the Osama bin Laden, Epstein, dog, shocker, fucker, piker, dick writers, they are treating this as if it's a criminal case. intentionally misleading their sheep audiences.
Probably because the burden of proof there is much lower than in criminal court.
I want you to understand something, chat. That the judge agreed with that. Now, the judge was not empowered to put him in prison directly.
Excuse me, but what is this? What is this?
Because that was not a criminal case. Had it been a criminal case, and had he been given a bench trial, he would have gone to prison as a rapist.
Actually, it's the exact opposite. Had this been a criminal case and had there been a bench trial, he probably would have been completely exonerated due to the lack of anything that any semblance of evidence.
Right then.
God, these idiots are annoying. For those of you who don't know, Mike from PA is the guy who pretended to be a licensed attorney to run for the Pennsylvania legislature, but the state Supreme Court kicked him off the ballot after they found him misrepresenting himself.
Oh,
now
great.
He's pretending to be an authority on the law on Twitch.
Also, like someone who doesn't know the difference between lawyer and attorney at this point, I believe.
Spoilers, most of the law influencers
There
get
he
shit
is.
wrong all the time, and they aren't really that trustworthy. Anyway, in reality, there was a police investigation, but it didn't go anywhere, let alone prosecute. So
Okay.
Pink Shoe claims...
Which, that alone should tell you everything you need to know. Like, I'll be real. Hold on. I really don't want to Google that. How do you safely Google what's the statute of limitations on sex crimes in Texas? So I'm not going to Google that because I don't want that in my search history. But the point is, we know it's not less than 2 years, all right? This accusation was made in 2024. We're just now in 2026. This legal battle has been ongoing since effectively 2024. You maybe say 2025. I'm not sure when it actually got put on the books. So you can 100% say it would still fall within the statute of limitations, unequivocally. So if the police didn't pursue anything, while it was very obviously still within the statute of limitations if it were a sex crime, that right there is enough evidence, at least for me, to know that this is bullshit at best, or bullshit at worst, frivolous at best.
Claimed that she would put a pause on pressing criminal charges because she was afraid of Tectone retaliating, which I don't believe because he publicly said he would cooperate with the police. And also, if Pink Shoe was actually afraid, she wouldn't have continued to attack Tectone legally.
No, I think maybe retaliate she means legally, and now she thinks she doesn't have a case. I don't think it means retaliate like he's gonna go to her house and smash her head against the countertop.
Personally, I think the only reason that a protective order was filed is because she wants to attack him, and there's no way in hell that she would have won a criminal case. Now, just so it's less confusing, and because there's no video of this hearing, as we go over the transcript, I'll put pictures on the side of who is talking. That being said, Pink Shoe's lawyer starts her opening statement by blaming Pink Shoe's lack of evidence to corroborate her story on the fact that she's autistic. Pink Shoe's primary argument here is that...
That's another one. Can you explain to me why Gen Z, and even more so Gen Alpha or Gen Beta, whatever the heck we are now, I don't even know, everyone is freaking autistic. Everyone.
Metatron, I have a sneaking suspicion you know the answer. It is a combination of two things. An insane amount of overdiagnosis. Actually, three things. An insane amount of overdiagnosis by medical professionals because that creates a medical customer for life. Self-diagnosis on the internet for some sort of validation. Or vaccines actually really do cause autism, and we're in the most vaccinated society in fucking history now. It is a combination of those three things.
Jacksepticeye, did you see that? Because I do watch him play. I hate his freaking politics, but he's funny. So I kind of watch him play. And whenever he starts mentioning politics, I skip. And then he was like, oh, I got diagnosed, guys. I have autism. No, you don't. Shut up. The reality is, I'm just going to summarize these new generations in just one single sentence. Attention whores.
Base!
They want attention. Now, everyone up to a certain extent, when we are teenagers, for instance, we kind of want extension. We want to say, like, look at me, I'm special. I can do this, I can do that. I can play this game better. I can say this, I can study, I can whatever the heck.
And some of us do it as adults, i.e. your boy. Wouldn't be a content creator on the internet if I wasn't out there looking for you guys' attention. I mean, let's be real. Yes, attention is very fucking nice. However, I can also honestly say, unlike half these anime profile picture, nameless, faceless, tranny flag in the bio rejects on X, I would hold these exact same opinions and beliefs even if I wasn't a content creator. How? Because I've held many of these exact same, beliefs and thoughts and whatnot since 2014 during the Gamergate times, or even before then, and I didn't start doing content creation, at least in this regard, until about 3 years ago. And that's what the difference is. Yeah, I can want attention, but I want attention for my authenticity, as opposed to these pretenders that are seeking any sort of validation that way they can be in with a group because they're sad, lonely, narcissistic fucks whose opinions and beliefs and personal philosophies will change on a dime when the public sentiment switches.
Like, we all want attention, but usually we grow out of it. But the youth these days, they don't grow out of it. And I think that a lot of the things that we are seeing, they are pushed onto them because they are being given, since they are children, which is very damaging, so many options. Say that you...
She didn't drop the criminal charges on Tectone, Nacho Ninja, to my understanding. She never even filed them. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she never even filed them, so there wasn't even anything to drop. But maybe I'm wrong. You guys correct me if I am wrong.
Your pronouns are they, them. Oh, so you're suffering through gender dysphoria. I see. Attention. And they get attention, and they crave the reward. And that's what happens, but it's nonsense. It's not true. Of course, there are some people, but the percentages, it just doesn't work. It's probably like 1 in a million, but maybe not in a million, but like 1 in 100,000 is actually suffering for gender dysphoria. The rest, it's been socially pushed. That's the reality of it. It's nonsense. They do it for attention. They do it for politics. But politics, even then, for the very young, I think it's attention craving. It makes me special. I'm different. And then it happens with this now. Everyone is a freaking autistic.
Person who was nearly 30 at the time, she didn't realize that she was being abused until someone else told her, because she's very slightly autistic. What, did they take that argument from TikTok? So anyway,
No, they took it from OnlyFans.
If there's like a mountain of evidence showing that this was all consensual, well, just ignore that because Pink Chu changed her mind after the breakup and after Tectone got...
Right, you cannot remove consent afterwards.
Correct.
You cannot remove consent afterwards because you're mad. That doesn't work. That's a fact.
But it does work. And this is the unfortunate fact. I mean, Metatron is technically wrong here, and it's unfortunate that he's wrong. But we live in a society that has allowed this to propagate. The removal of consent after the fact, if you regret it, if you don't like it, if there's circumstances that you find unfortunate, and there are actual legal systems that uphold this deranged way of thinking. So it does work. The correct way to phrase this would be, it shouldn't work.
If that's what she did, and he did nothing wrong, then she should go to jail.
Agreed.
Now, I don't know if that's what happened. I'm just listening to...
We have, to quote a once great comedian who has now fallen off completely, Bill Burr, we have an epidemic of gold-digging whores.
This and kind of evaluating, I haven't got a clue. It's not like I was in the room with them, thank the angels, but I'm just saying, I don't know. But considering the kind of enemies he has, I do have the bias to kind of be more leaning towards him, because I know how much they lie on his enemy side, which we share the same enemies.
A relationship with a different woman. What a convenient set of circumstances. That being said, let's go to the first allegation.
By the way, in a relationship with another woman, who they are now engaged, she has prominently been on stream with him multiple times, never any allegations of wrongdoing, so it's not like there's even a pattern amongst multiple women. I find that interesting.
Allegation of assault. Pink Chu said that she had recently gotten breast implants, so this is a plastic surgery related allegation. Now, I'm going to redact some of this information to make it YouTube safe, but the page numbers are all there, so you can just look it up for yourself. Basically, the allegation was that Pink Chu could not perform because of her recent surgery, so Tectone found other non-consensual means. Allegedly.
Much love to this queen. I mean, seriously, it's...
Yeah, much love to this queen. Just because they are enemies of the guy who he doesn't like the politics. Man, this tribalism is so stupid. Like, do you think that just because I have certain political takes, if someone who has similar political takes than me is a scumbag, I'm gonna say, no, you're good, king?
Exactly. I'm sure I've got probably pretty similar, at least on the surface level, takes as, let's say, Elijah Schaffer. didn't stop me from absolutely eviscerating the lying, gross, disgusting grifter that is Elijah Schaffer on stream last week. Having similar politics is irrelevant. Don't get me wrong, is nice. But if you actually do evil shit, such as forcibly sexually assault somebody, I don't give a fuck how similar our politics are. Outski. It's that simple, bro. As opposed to Osama bin Laden, Epstein, Dog, Shocker, Fucker, Piker, and his ilk, they don't care how evil and degenerate and criminal you are, as long as you agree with the message.
I'm not going to do that. If someone is scum, is scum. But we live in such a tribalistic period that now, if the person who has different politics than you is a saint, you'll call him the devil because politics. And if the person who is in the same political area than you is a scumbag, you'll say, no, great guy, great guy, great guy.
I mean, what I just say earlier on stream. Despite my ardent hatred of the left, I give John Fetterman credit. I like John Fetterman. I disagree with him politically in a myriad of ways, but I like John Fetterman. I think what Ro Khanna is doing with the Epstein files is fucking great. I despise Ro Khanna's policies, because again, I hate leftist policies, but what he's doing with the Epstein files is great. I'll give credit where it's due. Why is this so fucking hard for people?
Absolutely not. But that's what they do. That's what they do.
You had to go through all of that and then probably get traumatized altogether one more time in the court process, but at least now you have a moment of respite.
To further elaborate on the context here, Pink Chu testifies that she had been living with Tectone in exchange for sexual favors. Personally, I don't believe this version of the story at all. After reading through the transcript, it is very clear to me that they were living together because they were in a relationship. For reference, Pink Chu and Tectone's relationship started in December.
Yeah, Hypno Stream is also broken. That doesn't surprise me. Someone else earlier said that this is a YouTube-wide issue. It's absolutely insane that this is a YouTube-wide issue. Again, it's got to be AI-related.
Of 2022, and they broke up around June or July of 2024. About a month later, in July or August, Tectone meets his now fiancée, Sophia, and a few months later, in November, Pink Chu accuses Tectone of sexual assault.
This absolutely reeks of this broad being upsetty spaghetti because he moved the fuck on. She didn't even change her hair color. Yeah, you know women do that. Women change their hair color when they over the relationship. I didn't see her change her hair color. She still wanted that Tectone D, baby.
Which brings us to the second allegation. Again, pictures are here to indicate who is in the conversation.
Yes.
If you see a Q, though, that means a lawyer is talking. And if you see an A, that's going to be either Tectone or Pink Chu talking.
Okay.
Anyway, Pink Chu said that she had just gotten lip filler, and Tectone had forced her into oral sex, which had ruined the lip filler. Geez, another plastic surgery-related incident? Do all of her allegations have some sort of plastic surgery involved? Now, is there any corroborating evidence that this happened? Not really. There may have been a doctor's appointment where she had to get the lip filler fixed. However, that doesn't prove anything because she could have just as easily screwed up the filler through regular consensual activity or something else entirely. But these are pretty much the allegations of assault. Now, when I say that Pink Chu had no evidence of this stuff occurring, understand that her own testimony counts as evidence from a legal standpoint. So allow me to clarify what I mean. I'm saying she had no additional evidence to verify the truth of her story. And let me point out just how ridiculous this is. Tectone is a guy who is constantly on camera.
There's like a good 8 to 10 people who have already said, he didn't do it. We know he didn't do it. We were there when they said it happened. That never happened. They say there's a third girl. They don't exist. They don't realize that the entirety of, a large portion of my house is fucking filmed on the inside. I have security cameras on the inside.
And this is why I'm on Tectone's side. Not because of what he's saying right here, but because this is blatantly obvious. If there is video footage, witnesses, opposite testimony, and the judge still sided with this broad, this is a blatant miscarriage of justice because this is a biased, ideologically driven judge. And that's not a far-fetched idea whatsoever. We have seen lawfare waged against the right wing for damn near a decade now, because this is how far they have to go to force this agenda.
That's how fucking paranoid I am.
This is a guy who streams for multiple hours a day, plus the couple of streams that he did with Pink Chu.
Okay, I see where he's going with this. And when it comes to I also have like cameras everywhere, outside, inside. I'm full of cameras too. You got to be. At least I agree with him when it comes to that. Yeah, of course, in this case, I'm going to say innocent until proven guilty. You've got to have serious proof for something like this.
And there's the thing, Metatron. There's innocent until proven guilty doesn't fucking matter in civil court. That's the bitch of the bunch. Innocent until proven guilty is fucking irrelevant in civil court.
Because it could ruin a person's life. You need proof.
To tell me that you have no footage, no audio recordings, and no text that make him look abusive or make him look like a stalker? You also have no testimony from other witnesses saying that Tectone was abusing you? This is despite the fact that there were 2 roommates living with them the entire time.
Yeah, the roommates thing, I think, is stronger. The inside cameras, I doubt they're recording. I mean, they do, though, now that I think about it. I'll have to ask my wife. They do, because sometimes we scroll back when we hear a noise. And then we're like, go back, when it happened, when did it happen? It happened in a minute. Yeah, they do actually record. So that is a very good point. That is a very good point.
So either Tectone is this master manipulator who can get away with all of this without a trace, which is a weird thing to argue because his opposition is constantly calling him stupid.
When he's literally I don't know how anyone fucking ever listened to this guy.
He's dumb as
Every single one of these motherfuckers is envy. They do not have near the audience or support as Tectone, and that fucking gets their goat. That's all it is. Like envy is, it's such the root of all of this. Like, bro, imagine if I burned all of my Saturday Night Hypnosis bridges because I was upsetting spaghetti that Hypno gets like 10 times the viewers I do. That wouldn't make any fucking sense from a professional streamer standpoint or just the standpoint of being friends. Because remember, Mizkif was on OTK with the Tectone. Now, I don't know if they liked each other and didn't like each other, how that went down. But the fact of the matter is, there was some sort of, at least public sort of falling out or private falling out. Mike from PA hates the dude simply for his political opinions. But at the end of the day, if Tectone didn't have massive support from followers and other streamers and donations, because a lot of this is pocket watching, they wouldn't even be talking about this.
Honestly think he needs to be arrested just so he can experience what that is like, so he shuts the fuck up and goes away.
So arrest people so that they shut up rather than arrest people because they committed crimes. Do you see? But then we are the fascists.
Genuine.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Metatron nailed it. This is the fascist ideology at its absolute most blatant.
I don't understand how someone could be so fucking stupid to think that this is a good response.
So either he is this master manipulator who can fool anyone, or none of this shit happened.
Hey, we got something Italian here. What does it say? Ristoranti, pizzerie, la tagliatella. Ooh, do you want that translated, guys? I'm actually reading something very small. So, ristoranti means restaurants. Pizzeria means, of course, pizza restaurants, or pizza places, plural. And la tagliatella is the pasta, right? It's kind of a thicker, flat type of, it's not spaghetti, but it's long pasta, thick and flat. It's really good. So this restaurant is called La Tagliatella. That's a cool name. I would go to La Tagliatella, honestly. Tagliatelle would be plural with an E at the end. No one really says tagliatelli. It's tagliatelle for plural. But this one is in singular. I mean, they could have done it plural, though. Le tagliatelle. I think it sounds better in plural. I'm just putting my Italian 2 cents here, but if you're going to name a restaurant in Italian,
punches couches and recoils when he touches a woman, so opinion invalid. Facts.
Le tagliatelle sounds better than la tagliatella, because I'm imagining one now. But whatever, it's up to you. It's not my restaurant.
On that note, Pink Shoe's lawyer has finished questioning her client, so let's go to cross-examination from Tectone's lawyer, Joffrey. Before we get into this, though, it requires some backstory.
Okay.
For those of you who didn't know, Tectone was previously married for like 10 years to a woman whose name is Jessica.
So that was the ex-wife. Okay, so the lawsuit comes from the ex-girlfriend. This is the ex-wife. Okay.
I didn't know this. I was unaware that Tectone was previously married. So now we have another individual that could potentially corroborate some stuff. If he was married for 10 years, was there ever any allegations and stuff like this with her? I'm curious.
Okay, I see.
I doubt it, by the way.
Divorced a while back. Now, to me, the details here are kind of murky because an NDA was signed, and I only really have the court transcript to piece together what was going on. But remember how I said that Tectone has cameras everywhere? Well, it turns out that his ex-wife still had remote access to the cameras after the divorce, and allegedly, she was using some intimate footage between Tectone and Pink Chew to blackmail them.
Oh, I heard about this. I didn't realize they were married. I thought it was just an ex-girlfriend or whatnot. So the person that was trying to blackmail him was an ex-wife. Holy shit, that's even worse, bro. Women are evil, dude.
And how this didn't land his ex-wife in jail is beyond me. Anyway, a lawsuit was filed, and a part of this lawsuit included Pink Chew suing Tectone's ex-wife because she called her Tectone's sex slave. Let me repeat this. Pink Chew sued his ex-wife because she accused her of being victimized by Tectone. Pink Chew said it was defamatory to call her an abuse victim. Not only that, but
this is crazy. So the ex-wife, I gotta say this again, the ex-wife got this recording of them being intimate, and called her like a word victim. He said it all the video, so an abuse victim. And she sued her to say, I'm not an abuse victim, but now she says she is. Man, how didn't this already kind of ended the whole thing?
You know the answer, Metatron. Again, how did this not end it? Biased female judge who wants to propagate feminist superiority.
That's crazy.
First 1 month after her alleged incidents of abuse.
Yeah.
And she says these claims about her from Tectone's ex-wife were disgusting lies. What a weird thing to say, right? So that's our first counter to Pink Chew's story. And just right there, throw the case out.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that someone called her an abuse victim and she spent money suing them to say, no, I'm not? The second part of this is that Pink Chew went to a mental hospital in July of 2024, around 1 to 2 months after the alleged victimizations. When she's being questioned by her lawyer, she states that she went to the hospital.
I refuse to be quiet. Based, Fab.
Because she just had to get out of the house. And if your first thought was, that makes no sense, then I would agree with you. This sounds like a lie. Now, I'm not a fan of Illymation, but I do think she has a very insightful video on mental hospitals. People don't go to mental hospitals just because they wanted to get out of the house. They go because they're either a danger to others or they're afraid of harming themselves.
Facilities like this save lives every day. There are 2 types of admission. The first is voluntary, which is where you go to the emergency room and say, hi, I don't feel safe. Can you please help me? And the second is involuntary, which is where your doctor or psychiatrist feels you're at grave risk to yourself or others. So they write you a note and send you to the hospital.
So it's a weird downplay from Pink Chew to say that she just needed to get out of the house.
I just need to get out of the house. I could have gone to the park. Could have gone to the card shop. Could have gone to the game store. Could have gone to the grocery store. Could have gone to a hotel and just been alone. Could have gone to an amusement park. Could have gone to the movies. Could have gone to church. There's a lot of places she could have gone. But she chose a psych ward because she needed to get out of the house. And you know what? Given how women think, I can kind of believe this rationale.
If she wanted to do that, she could have just checked herself into a hotel or something.
Go to the supermarket.
Note that Pink Chew has more than enough money to...
I've only seen a couple things before you sleep videos, so I'm actually really enjoying this.
...do this. Also note that this admission into a mental hospital seems to have happened directly after Tectone broke up with her, so I'm guessing that the breakup caused thoughts of self-harm. Actually, it looks like the redactions here suggest something a little bit worse than self-harm. So honestly, I think checking herself into the mental hospital was a psychologically healthy thing to do. However, the issue with this hospital visit is that
woman is psychotic and has to go to a mental institution, and the dude gets the blame for it. Tale as old as time.
That it works as evidence against her story of abuse. Let me start by saying that when she's being questioned by her lawyer, Pink Chew said that after she got back from Austin Oaks, the mental hospital, she moved in with her mom, but as she was getting her stuff from Tectone's house, she told a roommate of his about how afraid she was of Tectone. Now, anytime you go to the hospital or see a doctor, they're going to ask you, why are you here?
Yeah.
Surely if Tectone was so abusive that she just had to get out of the house, and she had to tell his roommate how afraid she was, she would have also told the doctors, well, you see, I have this really abusive ex-boyfriend. But she didn't do that. In fact, the doctors specifically asked her if she had been a victim of abuse. Pink Chu says yes, but she doesn't mention Tectone. She mentions a prior non-Tectone relationship, and that's...
Ooh.
Again, these are the court transcripts. Like, regardless of what you think of Tectone, his content, his coverage, his morals, all that, this alone, everything we've seen just from her so far, should exonerate your belief that he is some sort of megalomaniacal rapist. I meant to say rapist, but racist too, I guess.
Really?
That's it. Keep in mind that the time period where she is alleging the abuse happened was 1 or 2 months before she goes to the mental hospital in July. Also keep in mind that Pink Chu testified that she told Tectone's roommate 3 or so days after this questioning from the mental hospital, or around the same time, that she was afraid of Tectone, noting that his roommate did not come in to testify on her behalf. She can't even get that corroborated. So I don't see how this can be considered as anything other than crucial evidence that Pink Chu is making all of these allegations up. Now, her argument for why she didn't report to the mental hospital that she had been assaulted by Tectone is because she just didn't see it that way at the time. But again, immediately after she got...
Yeah, but that's the problem. Like, I understand that there might be situations where there are real victims that at the time they might be confused about it. Like, I can understand that. But it does make it a lot harder to corroborate, because it just so happens that now, after months or I don't know how long at that point, and now that the relationship is over, it could be seen as vengeance.
In fact, I would say it is logical to come to the conclusion that, like, there's a lot of conclusions you can come to, but the top conclusion, the most likely conclusion, should be vengeance, should be retaliation. Like, if you were to look at, if you just to go by Occam's razor, what is most likely here? Let's lay out the facts. She went to a mental institution. She claimed there was abuse from other individuals, never from Tectone. She sued the ex-wife for claiming that she was an abuse victim when she said she wasn't. And only after Tectone got into a relationship with another woman does she start making these claims. The logical Occam's razor conclusion would be she is lying, that this is vengeance.
And it's difficult to corroborate at this point.
Gets out of the hospital to collect her stuff. She tells Tectone's roommate about how scared she is. Conveniently, this change of story happens in a place where it couldn't be documented as evidence. Because, if you were an abuse victim who is fleeing your house because you're afraid of your ex-boyfriend, certainly you would want to tell medical staff later so it could be used as evidence in a police investigation. This is why I don't believe anything that Pink Chu says.
Yeah, I understand. It's a little weak, this last one, because it does happen. But in combination with all the rest and the situation with the previous wife lawsuit, then I can see how definitely one would lean that way as an interpretation. But I'm curious to see what the judge said.
There are tons of holes in her story, and
well, I mean, technically we already know what the judge says, but
really nothing to defend her outside of taking her word for it. But that's not all. Before Pink Chu goes to the mental hospital, there are text messages between her and Tectone, where Tectone, or John, says, "Text me when you're on your way, and please be safe." And then she tells him what hospital she's going to be at. He also says, "If you need me, just text me. I'm sorry you're going through this." So when I read stuff like that, I think, wow, there was so much documented evidence of...
But no, apparently Tectone must be some, again, just super master manipulator, evil megalomaniacal egotist to have all the foresight to be like, in the coming years, she might sue me, so I should sound like a good boyfriend right now, just in case. Or maybe he just was at the time a concerned fucking boyfriend.
Tectone being supportive, but when it comes to him being abusive, you just have to take people's word for it.
Yeah, it's either he was literally the greatest mastermind when it comes to this, like...
Bingo, bango, bongo. See, me and Metatron, we on the same wavelength, baby.
He planned all of it in a way that he would send these messages on purpose so that they could be used as evidence of how supportive he was. But then anything that he said that is instead on the abusive side, he would only do it when he knew that there would be no recording, so no text, no phone call, no nothing, not in front of the camera, somewhere in the...
Tectone's a Bond villain, baby. Tectone's a Bond villain, and Ms. Kiff is James Bond himself. It's Kiff. Ms. Kiff.
In the blind spot, but then they all say he's stupid. Like, you gotta pick you gotta pick.
Isn't that odd? This is like no case of abuse that I've ever seen. Abusive people usually leave evidence everywhere because they can't help themselves.
That is actually very true. That's a very good point.
We're not done yet. Pink Chu and Tectone's lawyer Joffrey discuss her leaving the mental hospital, and there's this part where Joffrey says, in fact, I believe he's listed, and the rest is blacked out. Judging by the context clues, I'm guessing that he's saying that Tectone was listed as an emergency contact, considering that Tectone says stuff like, if you need anything, let me know.
Well, why would they redact that?
And Pink Chu told him what hospital she was going to be at. So again, extremely weird behavior here, especially considering that Pink Chu communicates that her mom lives somewhere in the area. So why is she using her alleged abuser that she's afraid of as a contact instead of her mom?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Moving on, let's talk about why a protection order was granted. In Texas, in order to get a protection order, the standard of proof is reasonable to believe. This is kind of a major...
And the standard of proof is reasonable grounds to believe. That's not a standard for proof, by the way. That you could call that this is really fucked up, this Texas law. You can maybe call this a standard for evidence, but evidence and proof are not the same thing. Evidence is just information that leads you to a conclusion. It does not have to be the correct conclusion. Bad evidence will lead to bad conclusions. I say this all the time. But even if this is the case, reasonable grounds to believe, with all the information we have thus far, it is not reasonable to believe her. It's 100% not reasonable by any logical metric to believe her. Hypothetically, even if it's true, even if everything she said was true, based on all the evidence, it is not reasonable to believe her.
Issue for me when it comes to family court, and I think the law around this needs to be modified to prevent abuse.
Yeah, let's try and reasonable grounds to believe instead of innocent until proven guilty for stuff that is this serious as to the guy can't own firearms for 10 years and he can't speak about this. The fact that he can't, I guess he has some kind of restraining order, I think it doesn't matter. Why would you want to deal with someone like this? Anyways, keep them at bay. But the rest?
Especially in cases like Tectone's, where there is tons of counter evidence to his accuser's story. Reasonable to believe is a very low standard.
Yeah.
It's like saying if one person thinks, yeah, that could have happened, that's enough to grant an order in Texas. This standard is even lower than the more likely than not to have happened standard, which is what we're all used to hearing about in civil court cases.
Yeah.
This is in Texas. I want to
like the idea that Texas of all states has laws like this on the books is fucking infuriating. This don't tread on me. This is 100% treading on you. And honestly, I've never thought about this before. But for all y'all old heads, you old school fans in the chat, like anime fans and whatnot, we'll probably think about this now. Let's think back to Vic Mignogna. Were you a Vic Mignogna fan? Were you an anime fan? Did you follow the Vic Mignogna case, that defamation case? How much y'all want to bet that this is why he lost? The bullshit laws on the books like this, because that was also in Texas, is why Vic Mignogna lost his case. Because this is actually a very similar situation. There was a bunch of counter evidence that was in Vic Mignogna's favor, and judge still ruled against him. I bet it's because of this so low barrier. I didn't know this until now. And as someone who's been pro Vic Mignogna since it all happened, yeah, this makes a lot more shit check out for me.
say this again. This is not...
Man, who is this clown, by the way?
California. This is not New York. This is not Illinois. This is not Massachusetts.
Say all the states. Let's go.
This is Texas.
He's implying that it's impossible to get an order of protection in Texas when actually it seems to be fairly easy. Here's Michelle Locke, Pink Chu's lawyer, on her podcast saying that the standard of proof in these kinds of courts is very low.
When it comes to marriage and there are abusive instances, how important is it for someone to have that documented?
Your testimony alone can be enough.
The lawyer outright admits it. Your testimony alone is enough. How many dudes does this fuck over? Let's look at this from a gendered lens for a moment. This is all these feminists out here. Oh, we want the same rights as men. Oh, we're treated so terribly. Oh, the patriarchy. This law is fundamentally lopsided in favor of women. Because who is more likely to shut the fuck up and just take abuse and not say anything? Dudes.
Hold it there, traveler. Do you know what this is? This is my Twitch channel called Metatron Gemini. I play a lot of games, it's a lot of fun, so don't be a muppet and click the link in the description box. Look, I even put it as a pinned comment. What else do you want me to do? I made it so easy. Come on. Follow me on Twitch. See you there.
And here's what we're going to do, chat. We're going to end it here. Because this is a 55-minute video. We're 31 minutes in. I have another show to be on in about an hour and 15 minutes. And I still got to make some dinner and stuff before then. So I'm going to link you the rest of this video. Give it a like, give it a watch. Y'all can finish it out on your own. Because this has told us everything we need to be told. Right? This has effectively laid out everything. Metatron did a great job in his coverage of this. And of course, there will be more. So yeah, I mean, this Tectone situation, whether you like or dislike him, should be irrelevant. I've got plenty of friends in the streaming space that can't stand Tectone. They don't like him, and that's totally fine. But even the ones that don't like him, I'm curious where they stand on this, because we didn't even get we got a little over halfway through the video. And it's blatantly obvious that this was a miscarriage of justice.